Hello, and welcome to the UltraSight AI software tutorial. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to follow the navigation instructions and perform an echocardiogram. Are you ready? Before we start, let's review the 4 probe movements. Slide, sliding the ultrasound probe on the patient's body, up, down, right, or left, while keeping its position at a vertical angle relative to the patient's body. Rotation, rotating the probe around its long axis, both clockwise or counterclockwise, while keeping the probe on the patient's body. Tilt, tilting the probe along the long axis of the probe's face while it remains fixed in its place. Rock, rocking the probe along the short axis of the probe's face while the probe remains fixed in its place. Now that we've reviewed the 4 movements and established a common language, we'll now learn how the guidance system gives directions to perform these movements. The first movement is slide. The user is guided to slide the probe towards the target axes. As the user gets closer to the target location, the axes will change color from red to yellow, and eventually the two will merge into one. In the current example, the user is instructed to slide the probe to the left in the direction of the target axes. And now the user is instructed to slide right. In this example, the user is guided to slide up towards the target axes. In this example, the system instructs the user to slide the probe down. Here, the system directs the user to slide down and then left. In contrast, in this example, the user needs to slide down and to the right. In another example, the user is instructed to slide up and then left. Whereas here, the user needs to move up and then to the right. The next movement is rotation. Here, the user is asked to rotate the probe on its axis so that the dashed line representing the probe marker will move in the direction of the green arrow. In this case, the user is instructed to rotate the probe clockwise. And here, the system indicates to the user to rotate the probe counterclockwise. The next movement is tilt. It is important to note that in the tilt movement, users must always aim to position the tail of the probe to stand perpendicular to the target axes shown on the screen. Therefore, in this example, the user will tilt the probe downwards. And in this example, the user is instructed to tilt the probe upwards. Also, in this instance, the system instructs the user to tilt the tail of the probe so that it faces them. The last movement is the rock movement, which is the rocking of the probe along the short axis of the probe's face. The probe's tail must be perpendicular to the target axes shown on the screen. Therefore, in this example, the user is instructed to rock the tail of the probe to the right. And here, the system directs the user to rock the tail of the probe to the left. In this case, the user will rock the tail of the probe so that it is oriented perpendicular to the target axes as well as oriented towards the green arrow. Finally, let's look at an example that combines several instructions all at once. The first movement to be performed is slide, and users are directed to slide down and towards the left, towards the target axes on the screen. The next movement is rotation, and users are instructed to rotate the probe counterclockwise. The last movement is tilt, and the user needs to improve the probe's angle in order for the probe to be perpendicular to the target axes. Once the user has followed all the instructions and has reached a quality image, the tail of the probe will then turn green. This means that users can save the image. In addition to the guidance cues presented by the virtual probe, there is also the quality bar indicator. The quality bar will fill up all the way to the top and turn green when the image quality is high enough to be captured. We hope this tutorial was both instructional and helpful. Thank you, and good luck!